Hey there, YouTube. So, I just want to talk about today a little bit why some people are okay with following a fascist dictator and why there are other people who are against it. There was an article written in the 1950s called The Authoritarian Personality. And this article was written by people who survived a fascist dictator. And what these people found is that authoritarianism starts at home. They put together a list of questions to ask random people. They wanted to make a survey, and they asked questions such as, would you rather raise your child to be obedient or self-reliant? And another question would be, would you rather raise your child to have good manners or to be curious? And another question was, would you rather raise your child to be considerate or well-behaved? And another question was, would you raise your child to be either respectful or confident? And these are 4 of the questions that were asked to individuals, and the people they asked, they had to pick just one, even though if they wanted to pick both things, like they want their kid to be obedient and self-reliant, they were asked that they could only pick one. They can't have both. So the people that picked they'd rather have their kid be obedient, those are the parents who are more likely to raise a child who is okay with authoritarianism. So if they would rather have an obedient child with good manners, well-behaved, and be raised to be respectful. If they have all those, if they picked all those, then those parents will have kids that will be okay with following a leader like a fascist dictator. Because if you want your kid to be self-reliant, if you pick self-reliant instead of obedience, then people who value self-reliance more than obedience tend to tolerate ambiguity. It's not all black and white for people who are self-reliant, and they're also open to new ideas, and they're also resistant to blind authority. Back in 1992, the people who had authoritarian tendencies, they were actually found in both political parties. They were found in Democrats and the Republicans. It was spread out evenly. But by 2020, those tendencies had become heavily concentrated all into the Republican Party. And this happened over time. It happened especially after the Civil Rights Movement and Roe versus Wade, and there was cultural wars in the 1990s. Because of these events that happened in our history, it created a slow sorting. People found themselves sorting into groups. Like for people who valued authority and tradition and conformity, they gravitated into the GOP. But those who valued diversity, autonomy and openness to change, they all leaned towards the Democratic Party. It seems like Democrats and Republicans are divided on cultural reasons and not economic. It seems to me that conservatives grew up in a home that didn't nurture their individuality. Like there was something that happened that they were scared. They were scared to be themselves. And I think maybe they had parents who were the type to gossip about their friends and their families, and they like to gossip and maybe tell falsehoods and possibly even be jealous. Hold on, guys, I gotta run into the store real quick. I need laundry detergent. So I got my laundry detergent, and what was I saying? Alright, let's see. So I was saying, so the parents of conservatives, they might be the type to gossip, and probably they're jealous people. You know, they have the jealous gene in them that makes them not like their neighbors, you know, because the neighbors might have something that they want. Conservative parents, they might be the type that believe as long as you work hard, you'll be rewarded. So they're telling their kids to work hard, and then they'll be able to live the American dream. And so if they see their neighbors packing up for a big trip to go to Italy or someplace, they'll think, you know what, as long as I work hard, I'll be able to afford a trip like that too. I just need to work harder. And the kids are seeing all this. They're learning from their parents. So when they're seeing their parents act like this and behave like this, and if it's something that they respect and agree with, then those kids are going to turn out to be just like their parents. It's like it's telling their kids that it's safer to follow their example, because if they don't, they'll end up being sinful degenerates who are leeching off society and not contributing. Like they're part of the problem. So they're forced to follow their example, because if they don't, then they're going to be ostracized. And and the kids are learning this because that's what their parents do to their friends and family. If anybody gets out of line or turns black sheep, then they'll be ostracized. So they teach their kids to stay in line, but the thing is, in order to stay in line, you'll need a person to tell you what that line is. And that line is non-existent if you don't have a leader telling them what that line is. So for the kid, that line is defined by their parents. And for their parents, that line is defined by their parents. But if their parents aren't around anymore, then they'll go like to the next person who they gravitate towards. It could be let's say the President of the United States. They want a leader who shares the same beliefs as they do, and usually these beliefs are based on judgment, and they're based on the fear of anybody different. These people, they care about making things right, fair, and good. And most of the time, this stereotype of a person is also prone to saturate themselves in religious ideologies. I gotta go to work, guys. I'll be right back. Alright. Oh, I got my Tide. Everybody's gonna be happy. Alright, I am done with work. And now I think I'll go home now. I don't know. But let me just finish up what I was talking about before. I was telling you about conservatives and the conservatives, the personality type, and now I'll just tell you a little bit about the free thinkers and the creative types. The type who has no fear. They're not scared of change and they're not scared of other people. These are my type of people. Okay? So the thing with creative types are that they are more likely to question things. Creative kids who don't respect their conservative parents, I think they're more likely to rebel as teenagers. They'll dye their hair weird colors. They'll read a ton of books. They're probably more likely to go to college on their own merit. Like they don't depend on their parents to actually buy college for them. And I think these kids they're probably spending copious amounts of their time researching creative ways to make a living instead of working the 9 to 5 like their parents, because they want to have more control over their lives, and time is important to them, so they want to spend it the way they want. And so anyway, these kids, they're less afraid of authority. They are more honest about who they are, and they're secure, confident people who aren't afraid to be ostracized or judged. They're way stronger than their parents. They're stronger and braver. They just don't need the same validation as their parents need. Let's just go in here. Weak people like narcissists, they need validation, not strong people. There we go. Off. Alright. So yeah, I'm gonna say goodbye and thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.